What is denied by many people, but it is actually real. A lot of people are still alive because they don't want to upset their family and friends. Anyone can become disabled at any time. You aren't immune from injury and illness. That lack of sleep is a major public health problem, not getting the attention it deserves. Modern life glorifies not getting a full 8 hours a night, when in fact lack of sleep is linked to diabetes, heart disease, some cancers, depression, and more. Invisible disabilities. We can die whenever. But many think not now. Extreme polarization and blind brand party loyalty. That more people get raped than we know about. Gambling is highly addictive and destroys lives. It's also become available pretty much everywhere in the United States, which will be a disaster in the coming years. That clean fresh water is a diminishing resource, more precious than any fossil fuels or rare earth minerals, and private ownership of it plus the unlimited use of it for industry is already getting people killed. The public education system in the USA is collapsing before our very eyes. Recycling is a sham propelled by the plastics industry. The solution is to stop using so much plastic, not say, oh well, I'll recycle it, as the vast majority of recycled trash isn't actually recycled. The plastics industry has spent millions for Americans to have this mentality that it's okay as long as we recycle. Phone addiction is everywhere and it's terrifying. Narwhals. Underage prostitution is more common than people think. Speaking of experience, that not all wasps are jerks. A lot of wasps are parasites and predators of disease-carrying insects and various crop pests. Then there are fig wasps, which are responsible for fig trees being able to reproduce. So, overall, the world might be worse off without wasps. The yellow jackets can fuck off though. Edit. Sorry, I got autocorrected from fig to fighting. Autocorrect is wild lol. Shortness of life. We all live as if we are going to live forever. We like to say only a week, but we tend to forget that we have 1000 weeks of active and good life. A lot more people have drinking problems than they're willing to admit. Oh, and climate change OFC. No one is immune to propaganda. Health problems from smoking weed. Too much sugar is bad for you. Holocaust, surprisingly. Sugar is poisoning us. Saying this as a sugar addict. Clarification: I am referring to refined sugars, in the quantities that it is in our diets. Some glucose is necessary for the body to not only function well but to survive. This glucose need is far overshot by the American diet. That addiction isn't a choice, it's an actual brain-altering disease. Sure, that first hit of a substance is a choice, but after that, the brain is rewired. Saw it happen with my brother. It eventually killed him at the ripe age of 26. Obesity. 40% of US citizens have it but don't seem to know it. Being disabled is a huge disadvantage in life. The general roundness of a planet. Education isn't the problem, but it is the solution. If we got politics out of education, and let teachers actually teach, within a generation we would have some of the most prepared adults ever. Pretty privilege. How facially attractive people get guaranteed a lot of predetermined social, financial, and romantic success at birth. That success, or lack of, has a lot to do with luck. You don't choose your strengths or flaws. You don't choose your gender, your ethnicity, or your physical appearance. You don't get to choose where or when you were born, who nurtures you and who will influence your life growing up. The list goes on. Sorta goes with the good old free will is an illusion argument, so feel free to disagree. The suffering of others and its cause. Teachers bullying and abusing disabled kids, especially when they're autistic. A lot of people I talk to don't seem to believe me when I say my first bully was a teacher. Food allergies and sensitivities are real. Discovered our oldest daughter had a problem with gluten. If we had pizza or pasta for dinner, we'd wake to the sound of her throwing up a couple hours later. Family doctor said she was not celiac but might have a sensitivity to gluten. Stopped feeding her gluten and problem solved. For years I have had people say going gluten-free is a fad, or if you are not celiac you don't have a problem, etc. It has made me somewhat hostile to the food allergy gatekeepers. Did some people jump on gluten-free for non-sensitivity reasons? Sure, some people just tried it as a fad diet, and I am glad because GF products have greatly improved and become more available as a result. But there are still those who act like asking about GF products is some kind of scam. Controversial one when it comes to dogs: breeding matters. I have 2 rescue mutts, I love them more than anything else, and I'd never change it for the world. However, I have also worked with purebred dogs training and pet sitting, and certain breeds are just so much less prone to behavioral issues. Again, I love my dogs, but certain breeds are definitely better for certain circumstances. The government doesn't give a fuck about us. Mental health issues. Moon landing happened, Earth isn't flat, vaccinations are generally risk-free and helpful, birds are real. Hot take: anyone trying to convince you otherwise are trying to make money off you somehow. Female on male rape. People deny that the ultra-rich are absolutely killing us. HR are not on your side. A lot of normalized addictions are denied and claimed not to be real. Weed, caffeine, porn, etc. Depression for no reason, even if your life is great. Climate change. The Civil War was, in fact, about slavery. There were no, and are no good Nazis. There were no such thing as good slave owners. Comprehension levels exist in people. Corporate greed. Education is very important. Modern slavery. It's not so much denied as it is simply unknown to many. Social problems: racism, sexism, anti-immigration, etc. are directly tied to economics and the exacerbation of a shrinking middle class. Government corruption is equally participated in by both Republicans and Democrats, and neither party gives a shit about you. Religions are not all the same, and some have a much bigger problem with extremism and human rights violations than others.